you ready for a series of questionable questions with Peter and Jeff from Brand Artica? Your seats and tray tables should be locked and in their full upright position. This is 1/7 the podcast.
Today on the show, we've got Tawny Lara, a.k.a. the Sober Sexpert. Yeah, she was a whiskey drinker back in her party girl days. And as someone who's reported on the sober, curious, and mindful drinking movement since 2015, she's tried just about every non-alcoholic drink on the market. However, none of the current whiskey alternatives had the bite that she craved for. Joining us also is Tawny's husband, Nick Mee-Chack. And Nick here got into vinegar making as a hobby, eventually launching the Sour Humanoid brand, which we've got plenty of those kicking around today. Sour Humanoids, I mean, but not the brand. I want to know more about that. Meanwhile, Tawny got into the idea of tea and botanicals. And the more they learned about vinegar and fermentation, the more they realized that the bite Tawny craved could be achieved with vinegar's acidity. So Nick got to work fermenting small batch vinegar using organic seaweed from Down Maine, and then added botanicals to said artisanal vinegar, and parentheses was born. Additionally, Tawny is the author of a book called Dry Humping, A Guide to Dating, Relating, and Hooking Up Without the Booze. It's a lighthearted and, may I say, cheeky, judgment-free handbook on dating without alcohol involved. Tawny, Nick, welcome to 1/7 the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Hi.
Hello. Well, Jeff here, my business partner at Brand Artica. Say hello, Jeff.
Hello.
Hello. We've got a series of questionable questions for you. We'll start out on the serious side, talking about some business, and then we're just going to pepper you. We're going to bombard you with all kinds of questions to pick in at the inside interior of your brains to find out exactly what makes you tick.
Bring it on.
You know, the first thing that came to mind was parentheses. So how did you come up with that name for the business?
Well, Tawny's an author, so obviously we were thinking about like literary themes. And, you know, the drinks we make are meant to be like an aperitif and a digestive, so a before dinner and an after dinner. And we thought about like, well, that's perfect. You know, that great name right there, before and after. And what are they doing? They're parenthesizing dinner.
Yep. And now that's interesting because I was going to ask you about the before and after. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I saw on the website how the product is set up as before and after. Tell us how does this work? Is there sort of a general pairing, or does it, as you said, it's a before dinner and an after dinner kind of a cocktail you can have?
So the before has some ingredients in it that actually will physically make your mouth water. And the other botanicals in it are meant to be kind of uplifting, but not in like a caffeine stimulant kind of way, in like a, you know, ashwagandha kind of way. Mm-hmm. And then the after has stuff that you'd commonly find in like a sleepy time tea, lavender, peppermint, chamomile, calendula, but we omitted things that were sedative, like valerian root or that kind of thing.
Oh, that's awesome. And when we were looking at this, I was wondering if you guys have had time. When did parentheses come out? When did that start? Or when is it officially?
So, you know, the drink came out, well, let me back up a bit. My book came out in September of last year. And then we intentionally launched the drink that December, a couple months after. So it's still a pretty new drink. We're learning so much as we go.
Yeah, I can imagine. And this is one of the things I'm always curious about is where people are at in the process. Have you had time to truly figure out who the brand is? Like, what's the vibe that you think your audience is going to best connect to? Is the brand vibe, sort of the brand identity, just as an example, is it poetic? Is it sullen? Is it rebellious, artistic, free-spirited? What's kind of if they say often, if the brand was a car, what kind of car would it be? Would it be a Celica, a Tesla, a Bentley? Do you guys have any thoughts on that just yet?
I really like the car analogy. Maybe it's an an explorer. I would say anytime someone asks about our target audience, I say that it's for people who like to try new things. Anyone who is interested in a new experience and in a new flavor profile will be very intrigued by our drink.
So yeah, so adventurous
It's
people.
adventurous. It's rebellious. It's, I would even say it's a lot of brands like to say that they're disruptive, but we genuinely think we are. For one specific fact is that we actually make our drink by hand. Something we're learning is that a lot of just CPG in general, but we're in the non-alcoholic space, but a lot of people don't make their own drink. They hire formulators and then they put their name on it, and there's nothing wrong with that. We were not expecting the fact that we actually make our own drink and we bottle it ourselves, and we do it all. We were not expecting that was actually going to be one of our value propositions.
Oh yeah, so I see what you're saying in terms of and just it's interesting, the non-alcoholic beverage space. We've been following it now for a little over a year, and it's just unreal, the growth in that category. What challenges have you kind of logistically based in terms of your product? Getting that into different places. Do you still get a weird look if you're pitching it to somebody, or is it more known?
Well, sort of the good thing and the bad thing about the non-alc scene is that it's so new. So there's even though it's like growing fast and there's lots of competition, there's a lot of space for innovation to be just kind of thrown in there, because there's a lot of people that are trying a lot of things, trying to find what they enjoy. And a lot of the kind of like analogs are not quite there yet. I mean, if you're a whiskey drinker and you taste the non-alc whiskey, it's, whiskey has like a multi-hundred-year history that it's not easy to kind of catch up with. And and on the other end of things, we're selling something that's off the beaten path. That's people are turned off by vinegar no matter what sometimes. So that's a challenge. People don't know what it's going to taste like before they try it, and so we kind of have to search for a way for people to kind of understand what they're about to put in their mouth, which like a lot of times we'll say it's like a really intense version of a kombucha, but not fizzy or not very sugary. When
I'm doing a tasting, I'll say we have a bold botanical spirit. Would you like to try, or are you feeling bold today? And people seem to like that kind of messaging because, like I said, it invites them into a new experience. They've truly never had anything like our drink, and which kind of like Nick was saying, that can be good and bad. People do want to have a reference point.
And the other thing is that Tawny's been reporting on the non-alc scene since 2015, 2016. So we know a lot of these bottle shop owners and a lot of the kind of bigger players in the game. Like, some of them are personal friends, so they're willing to not only give it a whirl but also kind of like use their energy to promote it. Spend time talking about it and educating people and that kind of thing. So we have a pretty enormous advantage because of Tawny's platform.
I love what you guys are doing, and this is something that I've spoken to with a couple of our other, a couple of other people I would consider influencers and thought leaders like yourself in this space. That oftentimes the conversation tends to just sort of revolve around, well, I'm sober, but I'm still kicking, and I'm human, and I don't need that for a good time. And I've asked several times, like, are there other areas you guys can be addressing in this space without talking about, just the product, or the stigma, and really branch out? And what you've done, I think, Tawny, is dry humping your book, and I don't mean like I'm not dry humping your book, but I mean, dry
You,
humping the
you
book you
should
wrote.
be though. This is the thing. Why aren't
Maybe I
you?
should, but I'm married and I don't need to know about dating in the sober world. I just don't. I'm lucky now. I don't have to. But like seriously, I love the fact that you're taking on a different aspect and angle of this category. And tell us a little bit about, you talk a lot in the introduction about liquid courage, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on the book, what inspired it, obviously, and the idea of why liquid courage, or the need for liquid courage, is so embedded in our society, and what the hell are we going to do about that?
I'm so glad you brought up the liquid courage angle because, when I set out to write Dry Humping, I was not planning on liquid courage really being the thesis of the book. And I'm really grateful that I had an editor who my editor for my book is not sober. And I share that because it was really helpful to have, a quote unquote normie, meaning someone who can drink without turning into an asshole.
Right.
I was really grateful to have someone like that working on the book with me because she helped me break down, a lot of the jargon and make the book accessible to people, whether they're in recovery, sober curious, or just genuinely interested in mindful dating, mindful relationships. So the more research that I did, I realized that liquid courage is actually that thread. Whether you're sober or you still drink alcohol, we can all relate to relying on liquid courage. And so for the context of my book, I focus on liquid courage, in the bedroom, on dates, when you're having an uncomfortable conversation with a spouse. A lot of these things can be a little bit easier with alcohol. So the goal in my book is really to help people feel more empowered with who they are and what I call their intrinsic courage, as opposed to outsourcing their bravery to booze.
That's great. I love it. It's genius. I mean, I think that there's so easy. It's embedded in our culture, right? It's in our society. People use that term all the time.
I totally agree. It's interesting too because I even remember they had some commercials way back, the designated driver type commercials, and I mean the idea is that somebody wants to be part of the social gathering. They want to have a drink, and now they have more choices than just soda, especially when these are social activities. You're making toasts. You're just it's part of the experience, right? Going to a bar or a restaurant. So I think what we're seeing is that some people who had to choose the Diet Coke or the ginger ale now have more choices, and I think it's just great.
Well, and there's a lot of statistics coming out these days. It's like something like 70 to 80% of people who shop the non-alc category actually still drink alcohol. They're just looking for interesting new drinks. Like you're saying, maybe they want to have an adult beverage, but they don't want it to have alcohol in it. And, we spend a lot of time in these non-alcoholic bottle shops doing tastings. And most of the people we talk to still drink alcohol. And there's this new term that I've recently learned called zebra striping, which is where people will have, a regular beer and then they'll have an athletic beer, like a non-alcoholic beer, and then a regular beer and then a non-alcoholic beer, just to practice moderation. Or the same thing as like having a margarita and then having a mocktail and then having another margarita and having a mocktail. And people couldn't do this sort of approach to mindful drinking if it wasn't for the non-alc movement.
That's really great. I actually, now I know what people are calling me behind my back is the zebra striping. No, because I recently, the same thing, we had a gathering at the house, and it was one of, in the summer in the Northeast, as you well know, in New York City, same as here in New Hampshire, the heat index, it's like 95 outside, but it feels like 130. We had a daytime party, and I found myself, in fact, one of our family members is pretty freshly, or at least a year or so into being sobriety. And, we wanted to make sure that he had some options to be at this party and participate. And that a lot of what we've been learning fed into that. And we had all these. So I had a couple of beers, and then I was like, I'm dying over here. It's hot. I can't, just drink beers for the next 7 hours.
Yeah.
And I opened up a few like Athletics and a few other different brands and tried them. And I was like, this is fabulous, because I'm still, having the flavor and the taste and the crispness and the bubbles, a nice icy can in the hand, but the alcohol's not there. So it's not draining me of all my energy. So the term zebra striping, is that correct? That's sort of the alternating. I love it.
Throw it out at your next party. You'll impress a lot of people.
Hey, anybody want a zebra stripe? Let's do this. So we're going to get into a few other questions here real quick, and then we'll circle back to everything that's really, truly important. But as you know, and we spoke earlier, that the name of our podcast is 1/7 The Podcast, not to be confused with anything else. We based this on something that we thought was really interesting. The mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above the water. Well, what about the rest that we don't see, the rest of it? And to me, in my mind, that's what's so interesting about people and movers and shakers, the rule breakers like yourselves, is that, there's a lot more to you than just what it is that you're being entrepreneurial about. And we like to dive into those things to just find out who the human behind the ideas and the genius, who they are and what makes them tick. So this is a question that either one of you can answer, one or the other, or both of you. Really quick, what was your favorite toy or a game as a child? No thinking, just answering.
Cash registers.
Running.
Running was your favorite toy or game? No?
You said what the first thing that came to mind. I didn't think about it.
If you had only 3 ingredients, what is the recipe for a great relationship?
Communication. I would say communication, honesty, and trust. Oh, I would say honesty and trust go together, but communication, trust, and being open-minded, let yourselves evolve.
Nice.
I would say communication, humility, and empathy.
Who can name 3 words that rhyme with spritz? Go.
Blitz.
Schnitzel.
Wasn't Schlitz beer? Wasn't that parody with Chris Farley?
Splits.
I was wondering too, but you're in New York, and I was wondering when someone was going to spit out Schwitz.
Schwitz.
Yes, you're right. We are schwitzing right now.
Schwitzing. I'm beyond schwitzing right now. I look like I've been standing neck deep in a pool. So here's one for you. What's the most unusual or embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you in public, and how did you handle it, or did you not handle it?
Most embarrassing thing. Oh my God. I'm looking at Nick hoping to learn something new about him. I don't know. I would say this is kind of, I'll let Nick keep thinking, and this is just my word vomit answer. I will say turning myself into a personal brand was probably a mistake. But I don't regret it because it brought me here. But I will say that was it was really difficult, and putting myself in the public eye about something as important as sobriety and sex. I'm still kind of feeling the repercussions from that.
Very good. Honest answer. Nick, anything come to mind for you?
Yeah, it took me a minute to think about it, but it's actually fairly recent. I did a GoFundMe, or no, not a GoFundMe, a Kickstarter for my vinegar company initially, and I thought I had like my production schedule ready and everything like that, and I was so late delivering like the products that I had sold, and I don't really know if anybody actually cared that it was like 3 months after I said it was going to come, but I was really embarrassed, and the way I dealt with it was I gave people extra stuff. I just sent an extra bottle here and there, but I hated that. I hate if I tell people something and I don't come through. Like Tawny knows I'm actually like I'm hesitant to promise things if I don't know I'm gonna like remember it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was horribly embarrassed by that. I'm like, you know, that was bad in my mind.
Now, in a zombie apocalypse, I need to know from both of you, are your first instincts in this zombie apocalypse going to be A, take the car and go to Mom's, B, kill Phil, C, grab Liz, D, go to the Winchester and have a cold glass of parenthesis, and E, wait for it all to blow over, or are you going to do something different?
Wow. I love this. I'm gonna like I'm gonna let Nick hunt and take care of things, and I'll probably like scream and cry and freak out. And then when I come to, then I'll be able to answer your question.
Okay. Fair enough. I think that, one of the scariest things are the only thing scarier than zombies that move really slowly but never stop are ones that move really fast and never stop.
I think the zombies would be pretty fast. That, you know, so like think about like the mothers that can like lift a car when their baby's under it. It's like that's because that other, you know, sixth, sevenths of their brain isn't telling them, hey, you're going to break your arms if you do this. They're just like, yeah, I don't, you know, just do it. So it's
That's
like,
true.
I would be worried about these, you know, these zombies running around, like using their full force to try to eat people. Like that'd be, you know, I would leave. I would leave. I'd be like, we need to get across the GW Bridge to New Jersey. And
There's zombies in New Jersey though.
yeah, but I would try to get somewhere rural, and I would try to find a Korean wings place before, because I'm like I'm not going to get Korean wings anytime soon, and they're delicious, and it's on the way to not New York.
If parenthesis were a band, what band would it be?
The Flaming Lips. I don't know. I said it with a question mark while looking at Nick. What do you think?
I think it'd be like if like Black Flag and Nine Inch Nails and Joni Mitchell had a baby, and then that baby started collaborating with like a classical musician and
the Flaming Lips
and Kendrick Lamar.
Whoever has to breastfeed that baby is in for a hell of an experience.
Yeah, that's quite
you're going to need
birth.
a team of doulas for that.
Whoever's carrying that baby.
So lastly, Tawny and Nick, you know, where can our audience discover more about parentheses and your book, Dry Humping?
You could certainly buy our drink at drinkparentheses.com. But if people are really interested, we'd encourage them to find a local non-alc bottle shop or specialty food store and ask if they're into that kind of thing and they'd want to carry it. But otherwise, you can just order it from our website.
And on our website, we also have, I mean, you can get my book anywhere books are sold. But if you want a signed copy, you can get it from the parentheses website. We have a deal where it's like both drinks plus a signed copy of the book. So that's an option. There's also an audiobook. You know, if you liked hearing my voice these last 30 minutes, you might like it for 6 hours. So that's an option. And I would also just love to brag on Nick for a moment, if I may. I think he undersold our drink a bit because he's very humble. I want people to know that most vinegar-based drinks, they just use apple cider vinegar as an ingredient, where Nick literally takes seaweed from Maine, he ferments it into vinegar, and then we add the botanicals. So he literally makes seaweed vinegar from scratch. And that's like, there's nothing else like that literally in the world. So I just want to brag on him. That is why our drink is so good.
Tawny and Nick, thank you so much for being on the show today. You guys were wonderful, absolutely illuminating guests. We enjoyed talking to both of you. Thanks for tuning in to 1/7 the podcast. Discover more about the show at 7ththeword.com. That's 17th.com. If you like the show, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment, and don't forget to smash the follow button. 1/7 the podcast is a Brandartica agency production. Today's show is brought to you in part by Chilk. Chilk is for everyone. Unlike Jesus or other overhyped healthy trends like eating vegetables or breathing clean air, kids love the color and the slightly funky aroma. Moms love the way it can sit on a shelf or a pantry for decades. Seniors love the vitamins and minerals, and millennials, well, they love the irony. Learn more about the facts of Chilk at drinkchilk.com.